how can they make it a priority to take this time to listen to opinions, to diverse voices, thoughts, and actually reflect and create something in our world, because they're just working.
It's so interesting. About 5-6 years ago, there was this conference in Davos, the World Forum in Davos, and I guess it was one of the mindfulness people, John Kabat-Zinn was there, and also Otto Scharmer. And the mindfulness workshop was not fully attended, but a year later, you couldn't get into the room. And Otto Scharmer had written a wonderful article that people are waking up to how mindfulness is helping them really see the moment and see what they're not seeing. So I think it's not that we need to work harder, it's that we need to make space for imagination. And we need to pause, and here's the interesting thing, hear what other people are saying that we may be missing. So I think, first of all, it's great that you even asked the question. And it's like, for example, you've just been interviewing marvelous people. I kind of zone in and I go, okay, and I listen to a little bit and I go, incredible. And I think maybe, by inviting all of these people, if we could come together and if we could have some, change leaders talking and also some design thinkers supporting you, would you be available first to get the invitation? We know from a school of thought called Blue Ocean Strategy. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. They actually did their research from Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil, a circus without animals. Yeah. Circus with no animals, right? Yeah. Healthcare, maybe something is with no patient. We have to kind of break our mind, whatever we're expecting. But I think to invite the conversation and leave space for people to talk to each other, like not designing it. We need people talking to each other, and from them, we need to actually have a way of capturing where they're excited, what they're surprised at. And here's the question, what small thing from everything is possible? We're looking for big change, and sometimes we need to even look at the small changes that we can capture. I mean, no one, America is in love with socialized medicine, but we know that there are problems in this. Maybe we need to, maybe we need an intercultural thing, where Americans hear what's really not working in socialized medicine, but Canadians have to look at what's really the best in, for-profit sector that we might bring into our world. Or I tell you something, last piece of it. No one ever believed that healthcare, well-being was going to be such an important concept, like, preventative care, whatever it's called now. And of course, isn't that the truth? We can, if you take out smoking, if you do better health care, if you exercise, if you eat better, God knows what you're really preventing for yourself, and also social well-being. Well, we could start embracing that. In the States, there's something that started some years ago called ambulatory care. We have it here too now, but if you see some of these centers, they look like a hotel next to the beach. Mm-hmm. Wonderful couches, it's not what hospitals are used to, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you walk in and you think, okay, this is a great thing. I don't want to be sick for too long. It's a different mindset, and it helps maybe people heal better. I think we could start learning from this. And, healthcare leaders are innovators. They've always had a mission to do something that really matters. Right. So I think we need to give them more support.
I love that. I think we just need to bring some brilliant minds together, give them that space to think creatively, because healthcare leaders are leaders who are passionate about the work they do. Very few industries you have people who actually come there for, the heart of doing the work.
These are people that it's not, I think, yes, in the States, there are profit centers and so on, but really, to a person, everyone in healthcare, everyone, when I've worked in the healthcare environments, I'm always amazed. There is a concept called professional insulation. Like, they're guarding their feelings from feeling, right? But then you say to somebody, oh, my child isn't well, or my mother isn't well. And then this kind of reserved person goes, really? You need anything? Because they care deeply. They're just kind of getting it together. So I think actually, Shiyen, it's a wonderful thing for us to really give more opportunity to healthcare leaders and invitation. And I also think cross-pollinate, look for some of these best thinkers and invite them. Like, I think, some of the key people in the change industry today, I think could be invited. I think Otto Scharmer is a wonderful thinker and a wonderful large system thinker. I think, Dave Cooper Ryder's work on appreciative change started with the Cleveland Clinic. Okay, that's where it started from. I mean, and also it's very positive. Looking to cast blame, we know does not work. Looking to be appreciative is the good beginning and it's good in the middle. One of my relatives, I said, okay, say something positive. I love this. I always love this. He said, I told you something positive yesterday. I think we need a menu of encouragement to keep going when it's hard. The research of John Gottsman, which is originally for marital therapy, marital couples, but they could predict who's going to stay married based on how positive they were. And it was a ratio of 5 positive comments to 1 negative comment. And it's true for all of us. Somebody once said to me, are you sure? I said, sort of. So I do think right now, it's maybe kind of a wonderful moment because there's been such fatigue. That's what I'm so aware of. But how can we offer possibility? Or the other thing is the paradoxical, theory of change. I think that is so interesting. To call attention to something that isn't working is not a death sentence. It's an opportunity to invite choice. Okay, this isn't working, but what could be working? I think the other thing is I want to just make the idea of for some humor and optimism. I read a book recently, I'm blocking what the title was, but it was the importance of levity and optimism. And basically, these 2 women from Stanford, I love what they said, and this is just wonderful. I would like to share this with your incredible group of people that are in love with all of your podcasts. They did this research and they said, how many times do people laugh as a young child? Well, children laugh, 5, 10, 20 times a day, 30 times a day, right? They laugh at anything, right? And then they said, well, how about the adult? And they said twice, 3 times a week. They call it the vertical cliff. Laugh cliff. They kind of fell off the cliff. It's amazing when it's horrifying. And what they said that was interesting was that laughter, it was the fastest way to create relationships between people because it produces, this is interesting, it produces 3 kinds of hormones. First of all, laughing, it just feels good. So it's almost a little like gymnastics. So you could do endorphins because it's a little, and then of course, you feel good. So it's dopamine, like it's a feel good hormone. And then the third thing is whoever you laugh with, you feel closer. So it's the oxytocin hormone. It's either sex or bonding, And when I say that, by the time I say oxytocin, sex or bonding, everyone leans in.
Have you heard of laughter yoga?
Yes, of course. Wonderful. I've been worried to take it because, being credible has always been, if I'm too fun, is it going to work, right? But I do think, I once did a workshop for healthcare nurses, actually, and it was an exhausting project. I was invited in and I thought I could never succeed because they were unhappy. And when I went to interview, they were all kind of mean to me. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And then I really realized it's not me, it's how they're really feeling. And at the time, I had a wonderful senior colleague. She's now gone. But she was really, like I call her, the muse. She said, well, Dorothy, maybe you could figure out how to give them massage. I said, what do you think I can do? Well, maybe they need massages or, a day at the spa. And I thought, isn't this terrible? I couldn't ask somebody more helpful. But what happened was it triggered something. And I had a client at the time working in Saks. And I called up my client and I said, what's the way, there's always free samples if we could get free samples and I could create little gift bags. I have about 30 nurses in a workshop and I'd like to offer something that's going to cheer them up. And what we did was we got all these perfume samples and makeup samples and I don't know, all these kind of free things. Companies really give away a lot. The beauty industry is probably like $4 or $5 billion a year. So we got these bags, we got these Saks bags and everybody, and I had at the time like a little dog cartoon. So I had everybody, a little number, okay? And everyone had something different. And for the 30 nurses came and they were not happy that they had to take training, another thing they had to do. And they came and they were not happy, and everyone had a little sack bag with a little doggy picture leaning up. And they started laughing, and I said, the first task that you'd have to do is look at what you have, and if you can't use the products, then you can switch with somebody, but you have to negotiate that. So for the first half an hour, everybody was, the noise in that room was like a marketplace. The CEO was outside, and I went to the washroom and he was trying to look through the crack of the doorway. Wasn't that something? And that workshop was a positive because it created connection, created surprise, created a format where people could say one thing that they had been very uncomfortable to say, how fatigued and hopeless they really felt things were. And, I look at that and I think, okay, we need to start changing that, but especially now. In New York, one of the things that people are proud of and stop, but at a certain point, everybody was clapping every day for the first responders. Well, we should continue to be appreciative every day. Maybe we can't do it every day, but we should look for opportunities. Mm-hmm. But there are lessons, Shiyen, from this that we can hold close to our heads and our hearts. And here's the other thing, our muscles, keep doing them.